Hi, this is Jeffrey Drury with my Module 6, Week 6 video. This week we were to look at the ProQuest historical newspaper database for articles that might enhance a survey course on American history. I chose a subject related to Louisiana history, which was Hurricane Katrina, Category 5 hurricane, which hit New Orleans in August of 2005. Major event not only for the United States but for Louisiana. About 80% of New Orleans was underwater. Tens of thousands of people were displaced. I was living in Houston at the time, and the Astrodome was filled with refugees from Hurricane Katrina afterwards for several weeks. The reason I chose Hurricane Katrina, because here in Louisiana, if you were teaching a survey course, you would have to touch on this. It was a major event. Students in the class would have either lived through the event if they're old enough, or they would have close relatives that lived through the event just about anywhere you might be teaching in Louisiana. So I thought it would be important to cover it. I chose 3 articles that cover different aspects. The first one by Shaila Dewan was entitled Louisiana Releases Details on Deaths from Hurricane Katrina and Later Flooding. What the reporter did in this case is kind of do a story on where the deaths in New Orleans was. One of the things she found is that most of the people died alone, with the exception of some of the people in the nursing homes where they had multiple deaths. There was a map with it showing the different parts. And as you can guess, people closer to Lake Pontchartrain and closer to where the flooding took place, there were more deaths. A lot of the flooding took place in the poor sections of the city, so there was more deaths down in that area than anywhere else. The next one, New Orleans Fair Varied Experience, Similar Resolves in Hurricane Katrina's Wake by Jennifer Szalai. She talked about the experiences of different people during the storm. She chose different families and different individuals and what their experiences was during the hurricane, but most especially afterward. And of course, people were refugees not only in Houston and Baton Rouge and other cities in Louisiana, but also as far as Chicago and Denver, and the various experiences they had and what happened to them, and whether they stayed out of New Orleans or kind of made their way back to the city. The third article I looked at was more about the rebuilding effort, and it was by Paul Tough, A Teachable Moment, Hurricane Katrina Wiped Out the New Orleans Public Schools. It also created a rare chance to build a system that might solve the biggest problems in urban education, How to Teach Disadvantaged Children. Very long title, I realize that. New Orleans has a very poor history of educating its children. Its schools normally rank down at the bottom of the statistics when you look at it. This was before the hurricane, with 80% of the city being covered by water. You can imagine most of the schools were wiped out, and that's the reason this reporter is talking about a chance to rebuild. When they came back, the infrastructure wasn't there. There are a lot of charter schools popped up. There were charter schools before Hurricane Katrina, but also. So looking at this as a clean slate is how would they rebuild this underperforming educational system in Houston? And he talked about that. And as I mentioned, charter schools were a big part of that effort because they were able to set up and start taking in students before the public schools. So a lot of the effort was in that area. Hurricane Katrina, again, one of the biggest events that ever happened in Louisiana, would definitely have to be part of a survey course in American history down here in Louisiana. Thank you for watching my video. I look forward to your comments, and may the Lord bless you.